Hello, I am Paul Featherston. I'm a Deputy City Manager for the City of Greeley. We want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today as we explain to you a measure on the November ballot to renew an existing sales tax. It is Measure 2I. This preview gives us the chance to inform you and through the community about the background and importance of this sales tax. It also gives us the chance to gather your valuable feedback so we can further inform voters. The measure you will hear about that has been one of the most critical measures that allows the city to directly fund community assets such as our recreation facilities and parks, as well as things like roads, sidewalks, and traffic signals. We want to thank you and all of the city taxpayers for committing to our community and ensuring Greeley can consistently improve, maintain, and grow this type of infrastructure. Thank you for taking the time to be with us and for being such strong community ambassadors and advocates for the city. One of the challenges that Greeley faces is the population has almost doubled in the last 30 years. Compare our 77% population increase to Denver, which has 55% over the same period of time, Aurora 70%, and Westminster 52%. That population increase means that there is more pressure on our roads, our parks, and our public facilities. Meanwhile, we've been working to keep maintenance costs and spending low, but our needs are piling up. We have hundreds of projects to address in the coming years. Our existing tax revenues are critical to maintaining and repairing our infrastructure. So Greeley's food tax, again, which is going to be Measure 2I on the November ballot, helps fund much of our infrastructure maintenance, repairs, and improvements. The food tax has been around for 30 years and approved by voters repeatedly by large margins. The tax is set to expire in December of 2021. And in Colorado, it is really typical for communities to seek a renewal a year ahead of the actual expiration to give us the chance and opportunity to make sure we do the best to get it approved. If voters decide to not renew this tax, the city will be faced with having to delay or cut important infrastructure projects and services. So the revenue that this tax helps the city fulfill one of its main roles and responsibilities, which is to maintain our infrastructure and essential services. Anytime you go out into the community during the day, you're going to encounter one of the many infrastructures that is supported by this tax, whether it be transportation, parks, or public facilities. The tax helps us maintain our roads, our buildings, to ensure that they're accessible, ensure our parks are fun and inviting to visitors, and our playgrounds are safe for kids. But it takes a lot of upkeep, staff time, and financial resources because the city has a substantial amount of infrastructure to maintain. As you can see on this slide, there's 375 miles of roadways, 1,738 acres of parks, 5 recreational facilities, and more than 1 million square feet of public facilities and buildings like recreational facilities, courts, and city service buildings.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Will Jones. I'm the Deputy Public Works Director for the City of Greeley. And focusing a little bit more on the food tax, our primary focus for funding is parks, recreation, and public buildings, as Paul mentioned. A contributing funding source for streets at approximately $2.7 million or 24% to the road maintenance budget. It is a tax on 3% on all grocery purchases and has historically generated about $9 million in annual sales tax. It has been approved by the voters in each of 6 elections since 1990, and something that's very important, especially in times like today, rebates are available for low-income households. Information is available at the city's website or via phone at 970-336-4082. Greeley's funding food tax fund repairs and improvements for these areas as shown on this slide. Approximately $500,000 for traffic signals, $1.8 million for accessibility improvements, 27, almost 30 million for road widening and repaving, as well as building maintenance and parks and rec costs there is shown as well. Again, this highlights times between 2014 and 2018. Greeley's food tax funds so much of the infrastructure we sometimes take for granted. The condition of our trails and park paths as shown in the image to the left, HVAC systems in our public buildings, parking lot surfacing, striping and cleanup, traffic signals and detection, again as shown in the image to the right, repairs to basketball courts and tennis courts, and then also some electrical components in parks that we all use and enjoy for events like arts picnic and other things. Much of what's at stake with the food tax are the parts of buildings that we may not always notice. It's accessibility improvements for the disabled, HVAC repairs, bathroom improvements, and window replacements. The food tax makes sure we can tackle these problems before they get worse while keeping energy costs low and improving water savings. These shown on the screen here are just a sample of the projects slated over the next 5 years. But as you can see, these projects might seem small, but they're critical. If we put them off, they get worse, they get harder to fix, and more importantly, they get more expensive. Approximately $2.7 million of this revenue helps fund road maintenance projects. If we don't maintain this funding, our roads will further deteriorate in the next 5 years. Fortunately, this means more cracks, more ruts, and more potholes.
Thank you, Will. So one of the most important things we do when we look at a tax initiative is to make sure how competitive we are in comparison to the communities around us from a total sales tax burden. So in addition to not burdening our residents and businesses with excessive taxes, we are also acutely aware that Greeley needs to be competitive in its tax rate with surrounding jurisdictions. That means our sales tax rate will continue to be similar to nearby cities and often lower. So if you look at this graph, it shows that Greeley, if this tax were to be renewed, because it is a renewal of an existing tax and no increase, the rate would remain the same at 7.01%. It would be lower than Loveland, Windsor, Fort Collins, and Evans, and much lower than comparable cities in Colorado, such as Colorado Springs, Aurora, Grand Junction, Brighton, and Castle Rock. So once the ballot was set by the council on September the 1st, the city is under regulations and statutory requirements that we provide information only and that we give pro-con information and reasons to renew and reasons to not renew. So that's what we're going to review now. So the reasons to renew are typically improve the livability and quality of life by maintaining our infrastructure. It minimizes maintenance costs. The more frequently and often you maintain and improve your facilities, the less it will cost you. It stabilizes and enhances city services in that it doesn't require us to look to cut services and programs to help fund these improvements. And it provides matching project funding possibilities to leverage other funding sources such as grants. Reasons to oppose include, while our employment remains high and our economy is in a recession, we should be lowering taxes. And taxes on food are considered regressive. Lower income individuals should be taxed at a lower rate. The food tax renewal includes measures to ensure taxpayer dollars are overseen. So 3 of those components are that all expenditures for each project are reported online in our annual budget. There is an independent audit, which is completed every year, and the City Council appointed Citizens Budget Advisory Committee reviews an annual audit of the finances. So what's next? The ballots will be mailed October the 9th. Election day is November the 3rd. Questions, you can certainly have, if you have additional information that would be helpful to you, you can certainly reach out to the city via the website of any staff member with the emails provided therein. You can share this information, help educate others about this important measure at the link provided on the slide. And no matter how you feel about this ballot question, we ask that you be sure to get out and vote this year. You can learn more by visiting our website at greeleygov.com and clicking on the 2020 ballot tab. On behalf of the City Manager's Office and the City of Greeley, we want to thank you for taking the time to educate yourself on ballot measure 2I regarding the renewal of the food tax. Thank you.